Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a very small book.
So small you could easily miss it on a shelf.
Right. But it's had this just huge outsized influence on how we think about success and happiness and even personal control for, what, over a century now.
We're talking about James Allen's foundational text, As a Man Thinketh.
And its publication date, 1903, is so important to understanding it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. The height of industrialization, rapid urbanization, everything was changing so fast.
And for the average person, life probably felt like it was controlled by these massive external forces, the factory, the city, the economy.
A real sense of powerlessness. And Allen, he knew that. He was a British philosophical writer, and he really understood economic hardship on a personal level.
Yeah, he faced those working class struggles himself. And that experience wasn't just, some background detail. It really fueled his core belief.
Which was?
That the mind was the one lever you had absolute control over. That thought wasn't just this passive thing happening in your head. It was the ultimate tool for transformation.
He believed you could literally transcend your material conditions just through mental mastery. It's a huge claim.
It is. It basically steps away from the idea that your destiny is just handed to you by fate or circumstance.
And it hands it right back to you. The purpose of the book isn't just self-help in the modern sense. It's a radical call to self-sovereignty.
Which brings us to the central challenge he poses directly to you, the listener. If your mind really is the master architect of your character and your destiny, what kind of structure are you maybe unknowingly building right now?
Are you laying the bricks intentionally or just letting the wind blow dust around? That's the question.
So our mission in this deep dive is to synthesize Allen's philosophy and give you that clear, accessible wisdom on self-mastery and mental discipline.
And it's still so relevant because in today's world of just constant distraction and uncertainty, Allen offers this structured path to empowerment. It's a philosophical essay, really. It's designed to make you pause, look inward, and maybe most importantly, take responsibility.
Okay, so let's unpack this central thesis, because it sounds simple, but it's actually radically challenging.
It is.
Allen says that thoughts are the primary force. Not a force, but the primary force shaping your character, your circumstances, your entire destiny.
You're not just a passenger, you're the architect.
Exactly. And he breaks down how this actually works into 7 distinct principles. He starts internally, right, with that fundamental relationship between thought and character.
Key principle 1, individuals are the sum total of their thoughts.
Which is a profound statement. It implies character isn't just something you're born with. It's an ongoing construction project.
Right. If you cultivate positive, constructive thoughts, you're actively building a virtuous character.
But if you're constantly dwelling on, say, cynicism, resentment, or fear,
you are deliberately, maybe unconsciously, but deliberately building vice and mental frailty. It's an assertion of moment-to-moment authorship over who you are.
So that's the internal. And then the next step, principle 2, is how that manifests externally.
The effect of thought on circumstances. This is probably Allen's most famous idea.
It's the big one. He states pretty emphatically that circumstances are not random. They're the direct outcome of your internal thought patterns and your deepest beliefs.
Now, I know this is where some people find it challenging. It can sound very deterministic.
It does. I mean, if circumstances are purely thought-based, how do you account for genuine systemic hardship? Or just plain bad luck?
Well, Allen isn't really dismissing the existence of external struggles. He's redirecting the focus. He argues that your mental state is what determines how you respond to those struggles.
And crucially, how long you stay imprisoned by them.
Exactly. And this is where he brings in that core metaphor, which is so powerful.
The mind is a garden. I love that.
If you neglect your garden, you don't have to plant weeds, right? They just show up.
Yeah.
Those weeds are the negative consequences in your life, procrastination, stagnation, whatever. But if you actively cultivate it, you pull the weeds, which are the negative thoughts, and you plant seeds, which are positive outcomes.
Then the garden, your circumstances, has to change. So it's about agency, not denial.
Precisely. And he immediately connects that to the physical body. Principle 3, the effect of thought on health. He's talking about a strong psychosomatic link.
And in 1903, that must have sounded pretty radical.
Oh, for sure. We now have tons of research on the stress response, but back then, he was arguing that sustained negative thoughts like chronic fear or anxiety could literally manifest as physical illness.
And the reverse is true. A calm, happy mind promotes physical wellness. He saw the mind as literally dictating the body's vitality.
Okay, so this is where the book starts to shift. It moves from introspection into active application.
Right. It's not just about what you are thinking anymore, but but what you must do with those thoughts to succeed.
And that starts with Chapter 4, Principle 4, Thought and Purpose. Alan is adamant that a clear, defined purpose is non-negotiable.
Because without it, all that mental energy just diffuses. It wanders aimlessly.
A purpose channels it. It focuses your actions towards specific outcomes, which leads right into Principle 5, the thought factor in achievement.
And achievement, for Alan, is not a stroke of luck.
Not at all. It's born from focused and, this is the key word, persistent thought. It requires mental fortitude.
I think most people try something, they fail, and their thoughts immediately pivot to self-criticism.
To quitting. Alan challenges you to hold the thought of success persistently, even when you face obstacles.
Which connects directly to the next one, Principle 6, visions and ideals.
He calls them the seedlings of reality. This is basically the power of visualization, nurturing a really vivid, detailed vision of your goals in your mind.
And that mental image becomes a kind of magnetic force, pulling your daily efforts toward it.
So you build character, you shape circumstances, you dedicate thought to achievement. And where does all of this lead? What's the ultimate goal?
Serenity. Principle 7. But it's not just about relaxation, is it?
No. It's a profound calmness of mind that he says signifies true wisdom and mastery. It's the proof that you have won that internal struggle between positive and negative thought.
That inner peace is the outward sign of an internal victory.
Exactly. The whole book is about that internal battle.
That's a great walkthrough. So if we zoom out from the chapters, the big philosophical current running through the whole thing is the law of cause and effect,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Every thought is a cause. Every circumstance is an effect. The thought is the seed. The circumstance is the plant that grows from it.
And that idea just grounds everything in personal responsibility. It moves you from just recognizing the power of your thought, which is the easy part,
To actually cultivating a disciplined mindset, which is the hard part.
It's interesting how much this aligns with, ancient philosophy.
It's totally timeless. Alan's focus on self-mastery puts him in direct conversation with the Stoics. With Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, it's dealing with the same enduring human truths.
But how is it different from a lot of the modern self-help books that came later, the more materialistic ones?
The difference is Alan's focus on the moral implications of thought. He's not just talking about material success. He directly links virtuous, pure thinking to a positive character, and therefore sustainable positive circumstances.
So it's a much deeper, more holistic kind of personal responsibility than just think and get rich.
Exactly. And that focus on the purity of thought is what makes the book transcend its time and culture.
Okay, so for anyone listening right now who's thinking, all right, I get the philosophy, but how do I actually start pulling the weeds in my mental garden? What are the practical techniques here?
The absolute foundation is the practice of conscious thought control. And that doesn't mean trying to crush negative thoughts. That's usually impossible.
It all can just make them stronger.
Right. It's more about the deliberate, active cultivation of positive, constructive thoughts. Recognizing that your attention is a finite, precious resource. Where are you putting it?
Which implies you have to make a pretty significant mindset shift.
When a challenge hits, the default setting for most of us is, panic or complaint. Alan says you have to proactively reframe that setback.
View it as an opportunity to build resilience, to test your mental fortitude.
It turns failure into feedback. And this loops right back to the idea of achievement. The actionable technique here is visualization.
You have to vividly imagine your goals, not as like abstract wishes, but as concrete realities.
The more detailed that mental image, the stronger the bridge between your internal thought and your real-world efforts.
So what does this look like day to day? When you wake up in the morning, what's the discipline?
It starts with mindful thought monitoring. You have to become an observer of your own mind. We have thousands of thoughts a day, and most of them are just repetitive, often negative loops.
So you have to catch them.
You have to catch those limiting beliefs, that inner voice saying, I can't do this, or this always happens to me. And then you consciously replace them. You can use daily affirmations to reinforce those new positive patterns. It's like daily mental hygiene.
That sounds simple, but it's not easy. It requires a lot of awareness. And what if you're someone who needs to write things down to process them?
Then reflective journaling is key. Writing down your recurring thoughts and feelings helps you see the patterns. It shows you where those metaphorical weeds keep trying to grow back.
And from there, you can do what he calls thought analysis.
Yes. That's the critical in-the-moment evaluation. You just ask yourself, is this thought constructive or is it destructive? Am I building myself up right now or am I tearing myself down? It's a very proactive approach.
So we've covered the whole spectrum, from building character all the way to achieving serenity. If we had to boil down the one major insight from this book,
It has to be that paradigm-shifting idea that the mind is the master
I
weaver.
love that phrase.
It's perfect, isn't it? The mind crafts both the inner garment of character, who you are, and the outer garment of circumstance, the reality you live in.
And embracing that forces you to live intentionally. It promotes radical personal responsibility and gives you a map to gain control over your life's direction.
By aligning your thought, your character, and your circumstances. That powerful message is why the book has lasted.
But we should acknowledge the tension in his work. This deterministic view that thoughts alone shape destiny is incredibly motivating.
It is, but if you misinterpret it, it could lead you to oversimplify things. To suggest that external social and economic factors are completely irrelevant, which they aren't.
It really draws a hard line in the sand between agency and blame.
It does. The book gives you all this power, but it also leaves you with a really profound, maybe uncomfortable question to wrestle with.
So let's end with that, a final provocative thought for you to consider.
Where do you truly draw the boundary between the internal garden you cultivate, which Alan champions so fiercely, and the unpredictable external world you have to navigate?
Are you using the power of your thought to build genuine agency and resilience? Or are you perhaps blaming external forces for what might actually be a long-neglected inner state?
The true deep dive begins when you consciously start to define that balance for yourself.